reason I'm like almost never around because I never get asked to play in my home region of Indianapolis. That's another story.
Thanks for your patience, folks, as we were waiting on this episode for a little while. This is Clare Longendyke, a good friend of mine from grad school. We're talking about gigging, getting gigs, funding projects, and all things business. Enjoy! I am super glad that we actually lined this up, by the way.
Me too. No, this week was perfect. This was a week when I was able to be like, yes, I have unobstructed time this week.
Yay! So for those of you who don't know, this is Clare Longendyke. She is an absolutely phenomenal pianist, and I'm grateful to say that she has been a friend of mine for years now. And what's funny is that we actually went to school together, but never actually bumped into one another because the Jacob School of Music is a cavern. It's incredibly huge.
Yep. Yep.
So I think we met actually for the first time at the Mostly Modern Festival a few years ago.
That's right. 2022. Yeah.
Dude, that's so crazy. God, time flies.
I know, right?
Dude. So at that time, like you were already in the scene and you'd been doing this for a while. Like how long, like at that point in time, like, do you feel like where were you in your professional stretch at the time?
That's a good question. So I had a pretty blurry line about like when I became a professional musician. And the reason for that was when I decided to go back to IU for my doctorate, I told myself that if I was going back to school, I was going to be treated like a professional. I was going to treat myself like a professional. And I was not going to mess around with stupid shit like caring about grades and, stuff like that, that just sort of takes up headspace for no real reason. So I started, so 2015, so 10-ish years, I started, sending emails to series, trying to get gigs, all that other crap, all the behind the scenes stuff that you do. So, but I would say that I wasn't really fully fledged on the scene until like I finished coursework in 2018. And then by the time we saw each other, what's funny is that I was a fully fledged professional musician at that point, early career for sure.
Yeah.
But I went to the Mostly Modern Festival as a student.
Oh,
and, like there's always room for us to, learn and explore skills. But I went with three very specific goals for why I was there. And I was kind of in a grumpy mood the entire time because I hated being a student again. Like I just didn't want to be treated like a student. I didn't like it.
That's how I felt in my first master's degree, because by the time I had started said master's degrees, the only reason I started it is because I couldn't get a job in the state of Michigan as a teacher. Like it was 2008. Who's hiring? No one.
No. Nobody.
So I went back to school, and I remember that exact feeling. Like, do not talk down to me. I've been doing this for a while. Absolutely not.
The school should be collaborative. Like, the best teachers are the ones that say that they learn as much from their students as they teach the students. And that's legit. Like that's not to say that I didn't have the respect for the experience and wisdom of my professors at all. Or more specifically, the mentors at Mostly Modern that I was learning from, or any other music festival. But also, like, I just wanted the acknowledgement that I had done something, that I was working to be somebody, and that I was not, that I had learned something and had something to, there was room for like ebb and flow, give and take in terms of learning. And don't get me wrong, the people that I went to like take lessons from, which was awesome because I hadn't had lessons in ages, especially on new music repertoire, like that was really, really special. They were wonderful. It was just, it was mostly in my head. It was like I felt like I was walking back onto a campus and being like, you're a student now. And there was nobody there to be like, no, you're not.
Right.
And so I don't know. It was, the mental games we play with ourselves.
Oh my gosh. That's so true. And like, so as a pianist, so where did you go to school prior to IU? Like, where are your other degrees from?
So my undergrad is from Boston University.
Okay.
And then I took a 3-year sort of leave of absence from the United States, and I moved to France. I moved to Paris.
Whoa.
And I was getting like, essentially they equate to like our performers diplomas, but they're far, far, far more legitimate over there.
Okay.
From this little school that is very pianist centric. It's got all instruments, all, you can study ear training and theory and musicology, etc. As complementary skills, not as degree granting skills. But the school is called the École Normale de Musique, and it was founded by Alfred Cortot, who was one of Chopin's disciples.
Whoa, that's heavy.
Yeah, exactly, right? So like super intense, very focused piano study. Wow. My end of year, it wasn't like, in the United States, you get the way that we describe it is it's hard to get in, it's easy to get out. In France, super easy to get in at this school in particular,
Yeah,
not the conservatory system, not the national
yeah.
conservatory system, but this school, easy to get in, very hard to get out. So to get your degree, you had to pass what was essentially like a competition like scenario where
Uh-huh.
you were playing your program for a jury that was all professional pianists, not your teachers,
Hmm.
and they were judging you based on how you did, and then they ranked everybody, and if you passed the diploma you got to move on to the next level, and if you didn't then you had to repeat the level. So it was
Wow.
intense.
I
It was
mean, I feel like
intense.
people would argue that IU is also one of those schools where it's easy to get in and hard to get out.
Yeah.
I've heard that
It
before
depends
about
upon the
them,
degree,
but
I
probably
think,
not
but
to
for
that degree.
no, but well, it depends. I guess it depends upon the department too. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know that I had any colleagues that failed their recitals, but it is possible to fail your recitals, and I heard of it happening.
Oh,
And
absolutely.
so, yeah,
Well,
it
and one of the
happens.
reasons like that news had sort of happened in my sphere because brass students are notorious for not being able to graduate their programs. Guess
Sure.
why?
Uh, I don't know.
They
They don't
can't pass the
practice.
piano proficiency.
Oh shit. Oh my god. Of course. Okay, wait. Okay, wait. So my best accomplishment at IU, I have to say, the best accomplishment, not the 8 recitals, the 50 million recitals that I played, if you
Oh
count
yeah.
all the accompanying I did,
Oh my god.
not the recitals, not the fact that I got like high mention on my oral exam or on my oral exams. Yeah, none of that. None of that
Yeah.
was the fact that I was the first person to teach that piano proficiency class for graduate students that they started offering in 20. I taught it for all 3 years, so it would have been 2016,
Oh
2016,
my gosh,
17,
that's so
18.
funny.
Yeah, and then I graduated.
That is so
And
funny.
I got so many damn singers through that class, Lexie. I swear to God. And I did not. I had to bend. You know.
Oh, I
You
do know.
you
I
get what I'm
do
saying.
know.
I
So
had to teach a lot of what a perfect fourth sounds like, for
yeah,
example.
yeah, we
Yeah.
give singers a lot of passes as far as skills are concerned, in my
Yeah.
opinion.
Sorry.
No, I miraculously
I'm sorry.
passed my piano exam the first time, and I
Congratulations.
thank you. It was an absolute fluke, and I am actually very much convinced that it is a supernatural intervention on the part of my father, who has been long
Okay.
gone since 1995. He passed, but he was a classical pianist, and I am very much not.
Amazing.
Like I'm so
Okay.
so not a pianist. Like I'm a
I
jazz
get it.
pianist. I can
Yep.
kind of get through, but like as far as actually moving all 10 fingers doing 10 different things is not my
Yep.
bag. And
No.
I'm very
I get
convinced
it.
that for one day out of my entire now 41 years on this planet, he came down and he's just like, let me just help you out. I'm just gonna borrow this for a second. We'll just get you
Just like
through.
close your eyes. Yeah. Jesus, take the wheel, sort of
Yeah,
nonsense
yeah.
happening there.
Dad, take the wheel because I can't do this. Oh my gosh.
Yep. Love
Um,
it.
so what went into your choice of schools? I mean, obviously the school in France, that's a no-brainer. Like, holy
Yeah.
crap, is that a no-brainer?
Yeah.
Were there other factors as far as like who taught there or what they were teaching that kind of went into your school choice? And what were those?
Yeah. So, like so many, I had no idea how to choose an undergrad.
Mhm.
So I auditioned at 9 different places. Didn't get in very many
Mm.
because I didn't know. Well, that's not true. I shouldn't say that. That takes credit away from my high school teacher. But
Aw.
I was not a very dedicated practicer. I was an excellent, very talented pianist when I was in high school. I was not a very dedicated practicer,
Mhm.
and so and also I came to classical music pretty late. I was like 16 when I played my first piece by Bach, believe it or not.
Wait, so
Like
what
I
did you
was
start studying?
Disney music and like
Oh, yeah, no, that
Spice
totally
Girls
tracks.
productions and
Like me
yeah, oh
having
yeah.
brass
Oh
brain,
yeah.
I just automatically had this bias that like all pianists just start with Bach.
I mean, the most successful ones probably do. And I've been fighting against the current for going on 31 years of playing the piano now. And
I
I'm
think
that
that's why
doesn't
we
mean
get
I'm
along.
31. That means I've been playing the piano for 31.
Yeah.
So I auditioned everywhere and like literally you name the school and I auditioned there, except for like the big scary ones. I was too afraid to audition there.
Mm.
I literally got into my mom's alma mater, which is the small all women's liberal arts college that I didn't even have to audition for. I got it
Oh.
on academics alone, which was great. I got into the University of Minnesota, which is 2 miles down the street from where I lived, and I was a
Mm.
post-secondary student there
Mm.
in the Twin Cities
Mhm.
during high school.
Okay.
So there was no way that they like wouldn't accept me. And then BU, and I didn't want to live 2 miles away from my parents, and so I decided to go and take the most expensive degree that I could get out of all of them. And so I went to BU. I knew nothing about the teachers. I didn't even know who I was going to study with until like orientation week.
Relatable.
And so like it chose me rather than me choosing it. And in the grand scheme of things, it was a very lucky coincidence
Oh.
because I was able as a because it's a private university, I was really able to kind of adapt my education
Mm-hmm.
in a way that really suited me. That meant studying abroad for a year in Paris rather than a semester in London. Yep.
Amazing.
And so that's what like got me in the door to move back with a Fulbright scholarship. And yeah.
Ah, okay.
So that was like a big step. And then when it came to IU, this was a little bit more calculated. My teacher in Paris, who was the best teacher until my doctorate that I've ever had, um, he studied with this sort of famous is not the right word, but this well-known French piano pedagogue who trained a bunch of French pianists.
Mm-hmm.
And I learned that there was a teacher at Indiana University, which I also knew was a very good school of music,
Mm-hmm.
who had studied with this woman whose name was Germaine Mounier. And so I reached out to him. I was like, hey, listen, I learned your name from my current teacher in Paris, wondering if you're taking students for the master's. I auditioned. I got in. I did not get an associate instructorship, the full ride.
Okay.
So I said, hey, listen, I'm not willing to take out loans for my master's. I'm going to wait, re-audition. So I stayed in Paris because I was thriving there, re-auditioned, got the AI ship, and I did master's, performance diploma, doctorate. So I was there
Nice.
for like the better part of a decade, pretty
Okay.
much.
Sounds like you and I have very similar stories as far as school choices are concerned.
Interesting.
But
Yeah.
except that the school that accidentally chose me, in this case it was the University of Missouri,
Okay.
that had like a sort of bittersweet, like some of it was great, some of it was friggin' terrible.
Sure.
Like, and it's always a crapshoot, right? Like when you're
Yeah.
basically just looking at the numbers and going, okay, can I make these numbers work?
Yep.
You know, you kind of get what you get.
Yep, for sure.
And then also we're very similar in that we're not like all that too dedicated of practicers.
Yeah.
Because like when I grew up in a musical household. Neither, like my dad was classically trained, my mom was not, but like I grew up hearing music all the time and reading
Yeah.
music all the time. I actually read music before I ever read English. And
Oh,
so
interesting.
like I cannot remember a time in my life where I was not able to read music. And
Yeah, sure.
so like as far as having like a little bit of an advantage over all of my
Yeah.
friends in high school, a
Sure.
little bit was a lot of it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
being that was the case, I never had to practice. Like, because all of
Mhm.
that music was beneath me. The only thing that was a challenge to me was actually physically figuring out how this wacky pipe works.
Sure.
That was the challenge for me. So, like, being that you had like a similar sort of set of advantages and or like strategies going into school, were there other challenges that you kind of came up against that were just like, wait, hold the phone, what?
Well, okay, so let me specify too. You cannot have a career in music without practicing. I mean, I don't know. I
Oh
feel
no,
like I practiced
totally,
a million
I
hours in
practiced
my
but I
life
never
right now,
practiced
right?
the stuff I was supposed to.
Oh, right, yeah, for sure. So when I how do I put it? Like, I guess same as you. Like, I got away with so much because I already. First of all, I could play by ear.
Right.
Second of all, I was a killer sight reader, and
Same.
really like was until I started being a professional soloist,
Mm.
because at that point so much of my emphasis is on memorization and on repeating programs and
Mhm.
like finding those deeper layers of a program, like the stuff where it's like now this is over every audience's head because they
Yeah.
can't hear the
Mhm.
intricacies of what I'm searching for in the practice room.
Mhm.
um but so what happened with me was I remember my dad taking me aside at the airport on my way to Boston for the first time, and he was like, "You've got a year. You've got a year to show me that you can figure out what to do." Because my parents were terrified. They were like, "What the hell is our daughter gonna do with a degree in music?" And like, hilariously, they have degrees in English, and like
Oh wow.
neither one of them was working in English. Like that's a useless degree too. But and I was like, okay. And so I got to BU, and it turned out I was surrounded by a group of people who freaking love to practice, and it was a full-time job. I spent 40 hours a week minimum in the practice room, and
That's
like
awesome.
have caught the bug ever since. Like
Yeah.
I'm not well if I don't get, it used to be 4 hours a day, and now I'm lucky if I get two, but I know how to make the most. I know how to make 4 hours of work in two
Yes.
hours. If that makes sense. Okay, so your question, other challenges. Um I mean, yeah, the fucking industry, like sorry, let's just dive in. Like,
Yeah,
see,
no,
like,
please, head first. Like that's
um,
why we're here.
I I bang my head against the wall every damn day about this industry.
Yeah.
And let me specify that okay, so I'm a classical concert pianist. I
Mhm.
play as a soloist with orchestras. I play solo recitals. I play chamber music, and I do residencies. I play a lot of new music. I workshop with young composers, young pianists. I do high level teaching. I have a very tiny little studio out of my home,
Nice.
but I'm almost, in high season, I'm like almost never around because I
Mhm.
never get asked to play in my home region of Indianapolis. That's another story. Um, I feel like anybody that knows me has heard me bitch about that, so I won't get into that here.
Oh,
Or maybe
no,
we will. Who
you
knows?
and I have the same this
Yeah.
I would imagine that we have the exact same problem because I live in Fort Wayne,
Yeah.
and people are just like, "Oh, so you obviously play for the Phil." No, I don't. I'm being cock blocked by a guy who lives in Texas. The man doesn't even
Mhm.
live in the state, yet he's the principal of the orchestra here in Fort Wayne. So it's like, okay, I would love to be able to do orchestral stuff,
It's the
but seeing
reality.
as how the Good Old Boys Club won't let me in, oh, well, I
Yeah.
guess I don't. Same
Yeah.
thing for Indianapolis, same thing for a
Yeah.
lot of that scene in
Yeah.
general, not just the classical side. So totally hear
Yep,
you.
that's right. Yep, exactly. So, I, in many ways, I feel like I figured it out, and I'm thriving. I posted a reel today where I was like, if I search for the word success in the dictionary, my headshot comes up. Like literally, that's how I feel like I am a success. And I mean that. That was not
That's
just
awesome.
like that was not like I really do feel like I am living the dream life that I want to be living. But there's so much that we can't control. I
Mhm.
mean, the not just the way that we're perceived as women asking for things that we need,
Oh
which
my
is
god.
never looked well upon,
Nope.
but also the fact that I've been public about the fact that I'm a mom now, the fact that um as a soloist, I'm always at the whim of like literally the latest um I'm going to say it, but DEI initiative,
Yeah.
which is really important, but also so superficial on the part of so many organizations. Like, if you care about equity,
Yeah.
then why are you still programming entire concerts of dead white European males?
Oh
And
yeah.
why isn't like your board more diverse? And like if you're gonna have a DEI statement on your website, then like it needs to be from the roots to the leaves.
Yeah.
And
Well, and
that's not just.
it's a twofold problem, right? So you have like these people programming nothing but old dead white men, and
Yep,
those are programs being built by old dead white men. Let's be fucking honest about
exactly.
that.
Yeah,
And then,
that's right.
oh, okay, so they deign to hire a female musician, and
Yeah.
now we have all of this like rhetoric and stupidity about like, oh, well, we need to roll back DEI. We need to get people into playing positions that deserve to be there. In other words, I want the good old boys club back, and I don't like all these other people being here. Do you feel like that you've like encountered that in your world? Because I feel like piano's still really male dominated, just like
It
trumpet.
is. It is. So I feel, yes, I've definitely encountered it. I've never encountered it. It's all implicit, not explicit
Of
though.
course.
You know,
Oh yeah.
like there's one conductor that I won't name who knows me, has sat down to meetings with me, has been like, yeah, send me, I feel like you would do really well with blah, blah, blah. Send me
Hmm.
a list of proposals of blah, blah, blah. And then 6 emails later, I'm still not getting a response. And I
Hmm.
look at their programming and for his ensembles, and it's all men.
Of course.
Granted, there's some diversity. Some of them are young and some of them are older
Hmm.
men,
Yeah.
all men.
Yeah.
And it's just like, and it's like you're damned if you do, damned if you don't. And I've pointed this out to people like board members, the executive director of certain organizations that
Hmm.
they work with, and they're like, "Oh yeah, I noticed that." Yeah.
And then they
Like,
do nothing.
why they do nothing? And
Right?
it's
We
just,
can advocate for ourselves until the cows come home, but
yes.
like it all falls on deaf ears. And of
Yeah.
course, like hashtag not all organizations, but the
Yeah.
majority of them, you bring
Yeah.
this stuff to their attention and they're just like, oh yeah, we did notice that. What a weird coincidence. Like I
And
just saw, and I bet you probably saw the same post.
okay.
Um, like leaving names out of it, it was basically that all of these positions for this, I think it was a music festival or something similar, were all filled by men. And a certain person on the internet took issue with that. It was just like, why is this the fucking case? This is 2025. I see
Yeah.
no women included here. And then the argument was made with, well, that's just who the conductor wanted. And then,
Mm.
like, the diatribe that followed after that, like, did you catch that post or no?
Mm-mm, I
Oh,
did not.
man. It went on for a while. And,
I've
like,
seen 100 of them that
it,
are just like that,
they're
though.
all the same set of arguments, right? Oh, well,
Yeah.
that's just who the conductor wanted. Oh, well, that's just, friends of the conductor. Oh, well, maybe they were just the best available at the time. Maybe there weren't any women available at the
Yeah.
time. I think you and I both know the fallacy of that statement.
Well, and what if I learned anything about during the post George Floyd sort of racial reckoning in this country,
Mm-hmm.
it was that if you look at your group of friends and they all look like you're the problem.
Yes.
So, like, if you're the conductor that is hiring your friends and they all look like you, then find new friends. And,
Oh
like,
yeah.
I have to say that the people that are leading that are women. And, and I think of this a lot when I'm thinking about programming and I'm looking at other people's programming,
Hmm.
because I love seeing all the women concert pianists in particular, which is
Yeah.
my world, so that's what
Yeah.
I'm exposed to. I love seeing all the women who are out there playing entire programs of women and people of color, and they're commissioning other women and people of color.
Hmm.
And then I look at the men who are getting all the big gigs, and they're still playing, Bach, Beethoven, Schubert, Scriabin, Rachmaninoff, Kapustin. They just like the heavy hitters. And I'm
Hmm.
like, you know what? The problem is that it's not going to change until like, if it's just women doing it, then it's women's work. Like,
Right.
literally, it is looked down upon because
Hmm.
the marginalized are the ones supporting the marginalized.
Hmm.
And it's an uphill battle. It's really depressing. I mean, it like, really, it is. It's like, I feel caught between the balance of,
Mm.
because I don't feel like my career is not where I want it to eventually excel to. Like, I feel successful, but we always want more, right?
Hmm.
Like, we're never quite arrived. That's
Right.
kind of
Right.
in the
Right.
classical musician's blood. So when I look at what I want to do, it's like, well, okay, the people whose careers I really want, do they play new music? Do they post sincerely and honestly and vulnerably on social media? Do they commission new works and spearhead, like, the work of underrepresented, marginalized composers? Some of them,
Hmm.
but it's never the, like, little guys. They're
No.
not bringing composers to the fore that have never been heard of. They're playing, like, Florence Price and Margaret Bonds, whose
Hmm.
music deserves to be played, but not to the exclusion of others
Oh
who
right.
deserve. So
Not to
it's
mention the
like,
support that they get. Like
yeah.
I never hear of a male solo artist struggling with funding of any kind. But do you have any idea how many like women's and others like I don't want to say just women because it's not just women, it's women and people of color. I feel like it's the entire umbrella of otherism, right?
Yeah,
Their
yeah, for sure.
GoFundMe's, their projects that, they're scraping by for every single dollar, every single like little shred of support. Meanwhile, you've got guys out here that are just like, I'm going to do this album of all shit that we've heard 1,000 fucking times, but you're going to
No,
pay for it.
I know.
What? Oh, and it's magically paid for overnight.
Well, and then they get accolades,
Yeah.
right? Like,
Oh, yeah.
Vikinger Olafsson, did he win the Grammy? I think he did win the Grammy for Bach Goldberg Variations.
Oh,
And,
dang. Okay.
that's fantastic. I
Hmm.
think that's wonderful.
Yeah.
How many recordings of those pieces have been made? I'm
Oh, my
sure it
God.
is. I'm sure it's the best recording in recent history of these pieces.
Sure.
Maybe. I don't know how many recordings have been made. I don't know. I'm just like, it's just conjecture. But
Yeah.
um but to win the Grammy for that?
Yeah.
Really? Like, what is new that's happening? What did you do that's new to support this, you know, old music that's fantastic, of course, but, like, I don't know. I want people to think outside the box a little bit. And, you know, maybe we can pivot in the direction of, like, the audiences that care about that
Hmm.
are dwindling. It's
Oh, my
not
gosh.
it's not that they're not there. It's not that they're not important. It's just that audiences are hungry for something new, and
Hmm.
we are not delivering as an industry. We are not delivering something new as an industry. We're not.
Nope.
It's like, it makes me really sick at the classical music field because it's so top down. It's like top down, but then it kind of reverses. I'm moving my hands up to down
No,
because
you're so
it's
right.
like it's like the artist gets to tell the audience what is the most important music out there, but then when it comes to getting hired, the artist is always at the bottom. So the presenter
Hmm.
is picking the artist based on what they think, and it's just like, it's really weird
Well,
and
and it's a
sick.
completely cyclical incestuous system, right? So, like,
Exactly.
and this sort of does pivot into sort of where we're going with, the fact that no one teaches you any of the
Yeah.
aforementioned skills in
Yeah.
school. Like, you will learn everything you need to know about like an interpretation like that is period correct for a piece, but you will know nothing about getting the money together to produce the album to even be considered for said Grammy. How does that
Right.
even work?
Exactly.
No one tells you about that.
Which, and I want to, like, I'm so grateful for that level of intricate, delicate, um, very careful study I was given, and teaching
Sure.
and mentorship I was given. But you're so right. It's
You
the
have to have
complementary
both.
stuff that, yeah, you do.
You have to have both.
You do.
So I just put out a single, and
Good
it's
for
a pop
you.
single. Yeah, thank
Congratulations.
you. I'm having a hell of a time with my distributor, but um,
Girl, welcome to our world.
right,
Everybody
exactly,
is.
because no one tells you about that either,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
But you know what was funny is like I had this mental struggle putting out this single, and I mentioned this in another episode as well. That like, okay, I have a doctorate from a big deal university, like I should be doing big deal, sort of at least new music or whatever, blah blah blah, and I have commissioned pieces from artists that
Yeah.
that highlight social struggles, that highlight like protest ideas, right? Like
Mhm.
that has been like historically kind of my slant on things. Like the way I commission pieces is sort of based on that. But like me putting out the single was basically just a labor of love. I wanted to put something pretty out there that it was a tune that I liked that no one else was
Good for
covering.
you.
And like, frankly, no trumpet player on the planet has yet covered anything by a rap artist to any
Cool.
great acclaim or anything. And so I put
Sure.
out the single and it's been listened to by a whopping like 50 people, whatever. But
Hmm.
I've been
Like
pinged
my
by a
entire
lot of
persona.
people that are just like, "Oh my god, I didn't know the trumpet could do that." Or
Mm,
wow, like that's a whole different
yeah.
genre where I never expected to hear the trumpet. And it's just like if you're not doing something like that, whether it is new music or like pop music or whatever, like why are we not doing that, you know?
I
And
played
is
a
there something wrong with
recital.
someone in advanced degree, playing pop
Right.
music, right?
No, absolutely not. You're right. Like, it's looked down upon in our circles as like selling out, right? I
That.
played an entire recital of video game music as part of an artist
Oh
residency.
my god, I love
Well,
that.
I was artist in residence at an engineering school in Terre Haute, Indiana, Rose Hulman Institute of Technology, one of the best engineering schools in the country. Yeah.
You do know I
And
used to teach at Indiana State, right?
yes, I do.
Okay.
Yes, I did know that. Yep.
So
So right,
I
I was
know
right down
Rose
the street.
Holman real well.
Yeah, and I have but have you ever known there to be like performers at Rose Holman?
Yes, because I had to
No.
borrow them to fill my jazz
No.
bands a lot of the
Well,
time.
fair,
But I am an
fair.
outlier.
Yeah,
Not very many
fair,
people do know
fair.
that.
But I'm talking like professional musicians. Like
Yeah,
it's
no.
not. It's so I was there as artist in residence, brought in by the arts department, um, as part of their like initiative to bring community engagement to the arts on campus. And all of the programming I did, I programmed 8 recitals. I performed 8 recitals, programmed 7 recitals over the course of an academic year.
Mhm.
And one of them was a video game music concert because it aligned with a class that was had ludomusicology. It's called the study of the history of video game music. I
What?
know. I know. Isn't that crazy?
It has its own
And
classification. I didn't even know that. I just learned a
it
thing.
does.
That's
Yep,
so cool.
exactly. Yep. And there was a whole class on it. Like there's literally enough history to teach an entire quarter's worth of class on it. And I am not a gamer. I did not know anything about this music, but I read the textbook along with the students.
Yeah.
I learned a ton, and then I asked them to curate the program for me, and they were all gamers and obsessed with this music, so they got a hand in choosing
Oh
the
my
music.
god.
I also invited them to come dressed up in costume, and they did. And it was one of the most, we probably had 180 people there
Right.
in this little chapel. It was standing room only.
I bet.
It was incredible. And like they were like on, if they could have been on their feet, like clapping as they went, they were just like, the energy was incredible, and it made me want to continue doing that. Do I love playing video game music? No, I would prefer to play a Brahms sonata or Clarissa Saad's piece for speaking pianist. Like, don't get me wrong, it was fine. It's not personally my jam, but was it awesome to be a part of like finding a new way to use my instrument to inspire audiences? Hell yeah, it was incredible.
Right.
So yeah, I think there's learning to open your mind and see, not just as the performer, but also help audiences see that this is not just, this is like the intersection of classical music, classical instrumental music, and video game music,
Yeah.
which is usually electronic, right?
Yeah.
So a lot of what I did was kind of helping draw that connection as an effort to bring the audience into my side of the music making world too. And I
Right.
think it worked.
Well, and as we were speaking about like sort of the built-in incestuousness of being a classically trained musician, or
Yeah.
a trained musician, period. So
Period.
I feel like there is an inherent problem that we just, for whatever reason, I'm going to probably guess money because money's the reason for a lot of things, that we
Mhm.
don't address is that the way we are taught in the academy or the conservatory system or whatever, like those professors and teachers and whoever are basically trying to, at least in my experience, turn you into a little clone of them so that you can get a college job or you can get a performance job, and then you can be an extension of them. And that's not to say that we don't view our students as extensions of ourselves, and I think that to some degree that's healthy. But what the breakdown is, and one of the main reasons I've started this podcast, is that system of consistently feeding little clones of like, oh, you only play this music and this is the only music that's worth playing and it has to be old white guys. Like that system is dead. We need to stop doing that to our students and being more open-minded to other music that does exist, because tell me that you didn't use a lot of what you learned as a classically trained, very like intentional pianist to play video game music. It's still piano music, right?
For sure.
I'm sure there were parts of it that took some effort.
Well,
that's what music
absolutely.
does.
Oh yeah, there was. I mean, some of it was challenging, very challenging, especially because it's adaptations of electronic music.
Right.
But I think there's an intermediary step, and for me, that intermediary step is, it's also important to teach people within the industry that it's not just classical dead dwems, the dead white European males, or video game music / pop music.
Oh, I'm
There's
totally
a
getting
whole
that term. Dwem. Love that.
Dwem. Oh yeah, Joan Tower taught me that. I fucking love Joan Tower. Dead white European male. And in fact, she was saying it to a symphony of students at ISU when she was talking about it, when I played her concerto with the ISU orchestra.
Let's go.
So like, for me, what is what blows my mind all the time, and you know, I try to be a little bit careful because the administrators in the industry are my bosses, right?
Course.
Like those are the people that I work with. But I am always so baffled when it comes to that liminal space between thinking that audiences will be impressed with the big classics, and then we will cater to their, you know, terrestrial desires by giving them pop music and video game music, and then like it's basically like this big stuff is for the musicians, the Brahms symphonies, the Mahler, the Bruckner, the Beethoven, the Mozart, the Haydn, all that stuff, and then the rest of the stuff is just kind of what the audience, it's like the whipped cream on top, what the audience wants to hear, and we'll make the musicians tough it out through that music. They're going to get tendonitis from playing John Williams so much. But there's no effort to explore anything in the middle. And I, you know, like I would love to sit down in a room full. I'm an ideas person, right? Like I have so many ideas, and I finally learned that it is not my fucking job to be the one to bring those ideas to life. My fucking job is being a classical concert pianist.
Right.
It is to get on stage and to show up and to move people with a program that I studied and worked hard and thought about how it was going to work and how it was going to engage the audience and how I'm going to walk on stage in order to give them an experience of whatever it is that they're coming in the room. I am the one that has to reflect that back through my persona, my charisma, my speaking, and my playing. That is my job. And but then I look at the job. Yeah. But then I look at the job of the administrator. I'm like, what is your job? And why is it my fault when you don't sell tickets to my concert?
Right.
I'm doing my job.
Like, I just want to quickly touch on something that you mentioned for the benefit of our audience that might not be musicians. So there's a perceived notion that if you play classical music, or if you play commercial music, the fluffy stuff, the stuff that everybody wants to hear, the John Williams, you know, that kind of stuff, that you are somehow perceived as less of a musician. I have a doctorate in performance from Indiana. Okay.
Yeah.
I am absolutely a professional musician and classically trained in the whole 9 yards. I make the majority of my money right now playing in wedding bands.
Yeah.
And yet musicians who would consider themselves worldly or knowledgeable or professional or whatever look down on me like I'm some sort of other, like I'm a second class citizen because of the way that I make my money. Like, yet that is what puts butts in seats. That's what actually people are.
The fact that you're making money should be your success. Like, yeah, you want to see my want to see my bank accounts? I'm a success. I'm doing it.
Right,
I'm
killing
killing. Like, yeah,
totally
right,
good.
exactly.
Oh
exactly.
my God.
You know, interestingly, so I'm Newsflash. I'm currently an adjunct lecturer down at IU for the rest of the semester for like 2 more
I
weeks.
saw that and I was so
Yeah.
excited for you. That's
Yeah.
actually what spurred me to be like, oh, I should get her on the podcast. She
Yeah.
has incredible perspective.
Yeah. And yeah. Ugh, yeah. I mean, it's amazing. Don't get
Yeah.
me wrong. But it's just like it's the culmination of all evils. It's time on the road, it's exhaustion, it's having to prep a class that I haven't taken in 13 years. Like
Mhm.
it's hard. It is the definition of hard. I've never been so tired. And I have a 6-month-old. I've never been so
I
tired.
genuinely don't
Like,
know how you're doing that, frankly.
yeah, yeah, for sure. I don't either. I don't. Apparently, there's this like mom thing where you just like find this new energy. I don't know. I thought I was the Energizer Bunny before motherhood, and now I'm like, I just don't even know. So,
Mhm.
anyways, so I think I could be wrong about this, but I think the kids down there are giving a performance, one of the orchestra concerts of one of the Harry Potter movies, and
Oh,
I was
yay.
like, hell yeah, right? Like, train them to play the music I mean, I'm a little sorry that they're having to do it, because when I was a student, I way rather would have been playing the Clara Schumann concerto
Right.
or the Beach Quintet or something like that. But
Mhm.
like, it's fine. Like that, the reality is that is how they're going to make their money. And so they're finally being trained, right? They're finally being trained to learn how to do what they're going to make their money doing so they don't have to learn it once they get into the professional sphere.
Yes.
Sphere.
Schmear. It's like a
Sphere.
schmear, but it's a
Into the,
schmear.
yeah, exactly. It's the sphere. Yes, into the sphere. So yeah, anyways, like maybe academia is finally catching on. The performance side of academia is finally catching on, but
Well, I
I don't
think
know.
it's more the outlier than the standard for sure.
I think so too.
But like that was something I really wanted to ask you about too, is just like
Mm.
you are by many measures a success. Um
Thank you.
I take inspiration from your posts about like funding your own albums
Mm.
and like living your best life in so many ways. So what are some of the skills that you like once you
Mm.
got out into the world and you were doing the things you're like, okay, I want to put out a solo album, etc. What are some of the ahas that goes, oh crap, I have to actually learn an entire new set of skills to do this thing? What are some of those
Mhm.
things that maybe happened?
Okay, so let me start with the aha moments. The aha moments are the first aha moment, and it wasn't all at once, right? But was that I cannot make enough money strictly performing to fund the projects that help me get more performances.
Yeah, you should probably say that again and louder because people
Yep.
don't understand that. Like non musicians, especially, they're like, "Oh, you're
Yeah,
just doing what you love. Like, isn't that enough for you?" No, it needs to pay the bills. I'm not paying. I'm not playing for
that's right.
exposure. Fuck you. Anyway.
That's right. Yep. So I like literally. So let's use. Can I get specific? Is that
Yeah,
okay?
please do. No.
Okay. Generally speaking, I make somewhere around, and it's an off year. I was on maternity leave for part of it, but about $40,000 a year playing solo concerts as a soloist.
Right.
That's gigging, that's recitals, that's
Yep.
you can only play so many concerts in a year, and the industry minimum, the standard that I get paid, has not gone up very much for me in
We
the
could do a
last
whole other
5 years.
episode on that. Just
I
that.
know, exactly. So if I make $40,000 a year, now that's just performance fees. That's
Mhm.
not W-2 income that I'm getting from IU, for example, right
Mhm.
now, which is going to expire in 2 weeks.
Right.
That's not teaching money. That's not grant money. That's
Mhm.
not fundraising money, which begs. So why do I have to do the rest of that? Like, I'm married. I have a 2 income household.
Mhm.
Could I survive myself just making 40K a year? Sure. Would I want to? No.
Not in this
But
economy. Like,
no, exactly.
I
Yeah,
wish
that's
looks
not
could
enough.
translate via audio because people would have probably
I
laughed at
know.
the looks we just exchanged.
Exactly. I know. I feel like sometimes you can hear my eye rolls in my voice though.
Same.
So, but my my second CD that I am getting ready to record in the next 18 months. I'm just giving myself a buffer, 18ish months, and is funded now.
Woo.
I know. Um, is estimated. It's not going to cost me this much because I'm not going in this direction, but the labels and the engineers and the producers that I've talked to have told me to set aside $30,000
Yep.
for one album.
Mhm.
$40,000 a year in performance fees, $30,000 in one project expense.
Mhm.
Now, that does not include upkeep and insurance for my instruments.
Mhm.
What else do I pay for? Management fees,
Mhm.
marketing fees, uh, like Yeah, I'm literally just like office expenses that
Oh,
I have.
totally.
Like I send thank you notes all the time. You've gotten a thank you note from me.
I have.
Yeah. And so like like literally I would make, if I were to only pay for projects through the money that I, or through my earned income,
Mm-hmm.
not have any contributed income, which is donations, tax deductible, et cetera,
Mm-hmm.
and grants, et cetera, I would make zero money a year.
Right.
If I were to, in the years that I were to record an album, which, talking about exposure,
Mm-hmm.
to get your name out there, every year that I release some amount of like high quality content, whether it's a CD or a bunch of singles, my performing opportunities like triples for
Mm-hmm.
the following year.
Sure.
So, that's the kind of exposure that is necessary, but I'm paying for it. I'm
Yeah.
paying for that like, so.
Well, I was going to ask, do you have a publicist, or
Mm,
like how did you get to that point, I guess? Because I feel like that is well, like all the
mm,
things that we've been talking about, no one talks about
yeah,
in school. But
yeah,
when for you was that pivot between, okay, I am DIY, I am in the trenches just
no,
doing the job, to, okay, fuck this, I need a publicist, I need a marketing
yeah,
specialist. Like, when was that for you, and like
yeah.
what did that look like?
Great question. So, okay. So I just signed my first publicist, literally starting November 1st. I started
Wow.
with my first publicist. But before that, starting in January
Mm-hmm.
2024,
Mm,
I started with an artist representative, and she is a one-stop shop. So
nice.
I was her first client, and she's kind of built her entire artist representative business around me, and then has attracted other artists through the work that she and I have done together.
And is
She's
she
a classical,
primarily classical art music, or is she just all encompassing, I manage
so
artists?
classical art music in
Gotcha.
particular,
Okay.
singers, composers, pianist. I think there's one non-classical. I'm not sure what genre that person does.
Hmm.
Sorry, I have animals, so you can hear them.
So do I. My cat was talking
I,
to me earlier.
yeah, yeah. I one of my cats was talking to me, and now my dogs are going berserk.
Yay.
Um, so I just signed. So insofar as support staff,
Hmm.
I started working with the very first person that I actually started working with, and this is sort of answer to your two questions ago,
Yeah.
was a development helper, somebody
Okay.
to help me learn how to fundraise, to structure my fundraising series, to guide me when it came to getting fiscal sponsorship, to edit grants, to edit appeal letters, and to sort of coach me when it came to making individual appeals.
Hmm.
So the maybe I can sort of pivot into like the arms of my business.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Yeah.
I'm a classical concert pianist.
Yes.
Within that, I feel like there are sort of five different wings, five different areas.
Hmm.
Development is how I make contributed income. I apply
Right.
for grants. I do crowdfunding campaigns. I have a fiscal sponsorship through Fractured Atlas, where I am able to send letters to people requesting money, asking for money. They are able to make a contribution that is
Nice.
tax deductible for them, and that supports my artistic work. That
Hmm.
can be projects, that can be overhead, that can be occasionally it can be paying myself. I do pay myself occasionally through things
Good to
like
do
that,
that.
because, yeah, as it turns out, one must survive.
It
Um,
does.
I know. Yes, it's helpful to be able to have money to survive.
Right.
Unfortunately, in a capitalist society, but here we are,
Yeah. Right.
America.
And it's not like you're just feeding yourself. You're now feeding another human. So
Exactly.
it's kind of important.
Exactly. Exactly. So then there's like the booking side of what I do, the like agent side, which is sending emails to people, to presenters, to orchestras, creating opportunities for me to perform as a soloist, as a chamber musician, etc. And for that, I have an artist representative, and she sends all emails on my behalf. She negotiates contracts. She sends my EPK out so that orchestras have my headshot and my most recent bio to put on their website to advertise the concert, etc.
An EPK
Then
is an electronic press kit, for anyone
that,
listening that is unfamiliar with that term.
yep, that
Electronic
is
press kit.
exactly,
If you want to make it as a musician, you should have one.
yep, yep, and you should know how to create it too,
Yes.
because
Yes.
it's not just
More things
it's
they
not
don't
just a
teach you in
PDF that
school.
lives online. Exactly. Then there is the financial side. There's the accounting side, right?
Hmm.
Like I have to know. I have every Thursday is my accounting day, and I go through and I balance my budget, and I figure out how much money I've made and how much I can pay myself and how much I need to invest into the project side of things.
Hmm.
Hi, Zuzu. My Bernese mountain dog just walked
Ah.
in. You can hear her panting in the
Ah.
background. Yeah. Oh, she's a big dope. And then, okay, marketing development. Oh, marketing.
Hmm.
So that marketing is that's what I brought on a publicist for,
Mm-hmm.
because marketing and booking kind of go hand in hand. The idea being that in order for me to find opportunities, people need to know who I am. And
Yes.
in order for people to know who I am, I need to be marketed and
Yes.
marketable. And so my publicist is the one who um, gets my publicist and my booking agent are the ones who field inquiries if they come in and if people find me slash reach out in order to get opportunities for podcast interviews or for I don't know, features on social media pages and
Mm-hmm.
things like that. And then there's like the smaller wing of that is social media, because I don't have a huge social media presence,
Mm-hmm.
and as a classical musician it's great too, but it's not that's not where I get my bookings, right? I don't.
And let's talk about that for a second. This
Yeah,
is a
sure.
very worthwhile thing to consider,
Yeah,
because we
absolutely.
are in a social media centric society in so many ways.
Yep.
But for classical music, like for, Western art music in general, the
Yep.
people that would be hiring you don't give a shit about social media. So like
No, and there's a
your
reason for that.
attention and resources might actually be better placed with a
Yeah,
publicist or with an artist representative,
for sure.
because they're going to be able to make those inroads differently
Exactly.
versus being a pop R&B funk like commercial person
Correct.
where social
Yeah.
media is basically your entire life, because that's where people are looking to hire you. It's a very different, it's a weird two-sided coin.
And tell me, okay, so my sense, and I'm going to be really careful in how I say
Yeah.
this. My sense is that in classical music, there is somewhat of a distrust for sincerity and legitimacy on social media,
Oh
meaning
yeah.
that you can capture 5 to 10 seconds,
Mm-hmm.
even a minute of your best playing,
Mm-hmm.
and it cannot be representative of the standard of excellence, which is such a bullshit term, that we as in the classical music industry expect and require. Truly, as sick as that sounds, I think that, and whereas with pop music there is not that level of distrust.
I think, okay, number one, that is an extraordinarily insightful like viewpoint.
Mm-hmm.
Two, I think I know why, or at least a contributing reason why. Pop music is meant to be digested in 3-minute chunks. If it's not
Yep,
2 minutes and
exactly.
12 seconds, it's never going to make it on the radio.
Correct.
Therefore, if you post 30 seconds of a thing that is in the popular commercial music vein, oh, well,
Yep.
that's obviously what you do. Whereas
Yep.
Western art music is a marathon.
Yes, exactly.
Like those pieces are in some cases hours long.
Exactly.
And so if you post 30 seconds of that, it's natural that one would go, okay, so they played 3 measures really well.
Right.
What about
That's
the
right.
rest of the tune? You know what I mean?
Right, exactly. Well, and honestly, I also think about the amount of music. So like as a pianist, and you could say this as a brass player too when you consider the entire orchestral repertoire maybe, but as a pianist, there's so much music for me to choose that is written for my instrument and written well for my instrument for me to choose from.
Right.
But
You have infinitely more than I do.
yes, that's true. Somebody like, and correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm not a huge like insider in pop music, but
Right.
like Chapel Rowan,
Mm-hmm.
Chapel, who was discovered on TikTok,
Mm-hmm.
right,
Mm-hmm.
is still performing the same songs that she was singing as like a 14-year-old
Yep.
in her earliest video, right? And like that's awesome. But I'm expected to play a different program and a different set of concerti every season. Like
Absolutely.
I'm and that's like 38 minutes minimum of one piece of music, and then 75 minutes of solo rep. And let's be honest, I usually have like 6 hours of music in my fingers and my brain at any given time.
Right.
Like that's just
But I
dumb.
think the parallel there is that the burn, the journey from I am no one to I am someone, right?
Yes.
Relatively speaking,
Yep.
is the same. The expectations
Yes.
are different. But like
Yes.
think about that. Like if Chapel Roan was 14 when she put out Pink
Yeah.
Pony Club, and it's been sitting there for
Yeah.
however many years. She's obviously done other stuff, and she's been trying this entire time to grind and grind and grind and do other
For sure.
things and get seen and
Of
get seen and
course.
get seen. And
Yep.
we as musicians of all types do the same thing. I'm going to try this. I'm going to play this. I'm going to, get more programs together, etc. And the burn from no one to someone is the same like ramp. People, and I know that this cliche is, well, the reason that this is a cliche is because it's used so often, but you only ever see the tip of the iceberg. You don't see what's beneath.
Of course.
And
of course.
it does not matter what music industry you're in. That is still the case.
That's absolutely true.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So like, I think a lot of people have like, number one, a lot of misconceptions about the life of an artist. Like, they're like, oh,
Yeah.
you're a pianist, your life must be so easy. You just described all of the different things that you're expected to be able to do, all of the 5 different sides of your business
Yes.
that you
Yeah.
are completely in control of all the time, in addition to being a mother. Were
Exactly.
there any bits of that came as a challenge to you that you're just like, okay, clearly I'm in over my head, I need help? When was that?
Okay, so I was terrible at the like graphic design kind side of things.
Oh, okay.
Terrible at it. And then I figured out how to use Canva and I've gotten much better. I'm still not great, but yay
My
for
fiance
Canva.
roasts me for that. He does all the graphics for the show, and he's like, "Why are
Yeah.
you using Canva?" And I'm like, "Because I'm not a graphic artist." He is.
Yeah, and also because yeah, right, exactly. Like, why are you learning the trumpet using the Idiot's Guide to Playing the Trumpet? Same
That's
reason.
what I am.
So okay, so when did I what were the what were they? Okay, so just to reiterate, you're asking like where did I really have a sharp learning curve and how when did I overcome
Realize
it?
that you needed help. Like, what was
So
the
realize that I
thing where
needed
you're
help.
just like, okay, screw this. I need help. I need someone who actually knows this shit.
I would say so. I said in January 24, I brought on Tabitha to help with the release of my CD.
Okay.
And I would say around that time, I realized I could not keep, and it was equal parts one, access, and two, mental health. I
Okay.
could not keep, I could not continue to be the person reaching out to presenters on my
Yeah.
own about myself
Mhm.
if I wanted to reach the level of career growth that I wanted. One, because they don't respond.
Yeah.
And I take that to mean that I'm this horrible, ugly troll who plays the piano like crap and
Right.
nobody wants to hire me.
Mhm.
And number two, it's a game and I fucking hate mind games.
Yeah.
I hate mind games. I am the kind of person where, so one of your questions that you sent me was what's something that I didn't learn in school that I wish I'd learned?
Mhm.
And I was thinking about that. And I will say this is very, very much informed by recent events.
Mhm.
I wish I had learned how to handle rejection in the music industry.
Okay.
Now, the problem is there anybody who taught me ever who could teach me that
Of
because
course.
they're good at it? No, I don't think so. I don't think any of them were good at handling. I think they all fucking sucked at handling. Like I
Most
don't
men
know anybody.
fail up like that. That's how their career
Well,
works. They just fail, and then they're promoted, and then they fail some more, and then they're promoted further, and
yeah,
then
that's true.
they crash and burn, and then they're given all kinds of money.
That's right.
So, like, I think in some ways we are the victims of their, magical little
principle.
life where they're just
Yeah.
promoted for being assholes.
The Peter principle. That's right. Do you
Right.
know what the Peter principle is?
No, what is it?
Oh my God, I freaking love this. The Peter Principle is the idea that you will be promoted to your highest level of incompetency, which means that you will humans will continue to do exactly what you're describing, fail and then be promoted, fail until we get to the point where you are so incompetent at your position. But in our culture, we're not taught to like identify people's skills and then get them in a position. Like most people would make great middle management,
Yeah.
but nobody wants that. Everybody wants to be the CEO.
Right.
And most like being a CEO is really awful and really hard. And I'm not saying that they deserve to be paid millions and millions of dollars,
Yeah.
but like it's a difficult job for the same reason and that managing other humans because we all have egos, we all are tender souls, right? So think about every chair of the department that you've ever had or worked with and how they're terrible.
Oh yeah.
It's because nobody else has wanted to do it, so they've raised the person,
or they elected
promoted the
themselves
person.
chair and got
Yeah,
everybody
well, there
fired.
you go, because they got themselves to their highest level of incompetency, and then so anyways, so that's my like psychological mind fuck of the day.
No, I really appreciate you like circling back on that. Like going back to the things that you didn't learn in school, I think one of the things that has been most vexing for me has been handling your money and like realizing tax implications and expectations. Like that's been the worst. Like I grew up poor. I did not grow up with any type of financial literacy whatsoever. So when I got out into freelance world, I ended up like my first like real year where I made like actually decent money and I was like, yay, everything's cool. No one bothered to tell me to save for taxes.
Ah,
So that was a big fat lesson learned. I mean, thankfully that was like 15 years ago, so like it wasn't as
sure.
bad as it could be now.
For sure.
But like, can you speak to that a little bit? Like, what are some of the financial
Yeah.
side lessons that you've learned that you wish they would have taught you in school?
So, I I grew up in a middle class family where frugality was definitely valued, and I am somebody who is very I usually am very financially cautious. Now, do I often go on a bender and do retail therapy? Of course I do. I'm a human woman.
One must.
I know because I deserve it.
That's right.
But I'm generally somebody who feels most comfortable when I have way too much money in savings. And
Hmm.
so I'm like pinching pennies and like chasing after refunds. I used to be like that, especially as a student.
Hmm.
And I think that's the opposite side of what you're describing is
Hmm.
like not having financial literacy can either can also look like having too much money that is not well managed, right? It can look like having no money, but also it can look like having too much money that's not well managed. And
Hmm.
um, I was like that for a long time. I mean, it's only really been in the last couple of years that I've really had to bite the bullet and understand that you have to invest. You have to spend money to make money. I mean,
Right.
truly,
Hmm.
you have to invest, and that goes in my career. That looks like the smallest things. Like I have to pay for postage to write handwritten thank you notes. I mean, truly, and
Yes.
and
No. Absolutely
in
makes sense.
order in order for certain donors to like understand the value of contributing to my work financially and then to want to give more.
Right.
So that level, but also like I mean, and then so there's the simplest things that cost money that in order to make money.
Hmm.
They're the smartest things. Like I have to keep my pianos in tune. I have to pay to keep my instruments
Hmm.
maintained.
Hmm.
Otherwise, all that money that I spent on the instrument in the first place is wasted because I need to spend a lot more money to get the money. Speaking of that, I need to get my piano tuned. Hey Dave, are you listening? I need to get my piano tuned. So like, there's that then there's like the smart way to spend money, and then there's the like and albeit I have a full-time job as a concert pianist.
Uh-huh.
I have three full-time jobs supporting my career as a concert pianist, and I have a 6-month-old and a husband and a house and four animals and all that stuff. So
This is
the
the
other thing
norm,
I
listeners.
know,
Like
I know.
there is like you cannot believe social media when you see
No,
people that are like, I just play for a living and I do nothing else. That is a
yeah.
lie.
That is a lie. That is a lie. Right. I mean, yeah, but also when you're seeing people hide that, it's because we're not supposed to talk about it. That's the other thing.
Which is
People
why
that,
we're
yeah,
here. I'm here to
yeah,
talk about it. Like I want
yeah.
people to have a
So,
very, very real understanding of what they're getting
right,
into.
exactly. It was only really in the past like 2 years that I realized that to really feel comfortable financially and to have that cycle of like money in, money, there has to be money going out. I have to be investing in help. I have to because the other thing I think to understand and to really take ownership over, I'm a control freak, right?
Hmm.
Like I like my social media page to look just so.
Hmm.
I like to what I like to book my own travel because I
Nice.
like to have that level of control. But um there is the time now that goes into like maintaining the boundary of a human life,
Oh,
and not just my own but like
yeah.
my son, my
Hmm.
husband's, and then animal life,
Hmm.
um is so high that I just have to offload some of that, and in order to do that I come into, we call it priority one in my house. Priority
Hmm.
one is like carving out a sacred space for practice because that's the most
Mm.
important thing I do every day.
Hmm.
Carving out a sacred space for practice means that I'm going to memorize more quickly. I'm going to feel more comfortable and more confident when I walk on stage. I'm going to own my music better. I'm going to feel more in control.
Hmm.
And that's where I really need it because the pressure of walking on stage and being at my best is higher and higher and higher the more my career advances.
Hmm.
So, paying for people to help me keep the sacred space a priority one is the most important thing that I do.
Yeah, absolutely. So regarding the entity that is Claire,
Yeah.
are you a sole proprietor? Are you an S corp? Are you an LLC? Like where do you fall within those tax sort of
Yeah.
assortments?
Yeah. For right now, I am a sole proprietor working towards an S Corp.
Gotcha. Okay. And what
In,
made
in
you choose
about
S corp versus LLC?
um tax protection.
Okay, that makes sense because they would take more
Because
taxes out of an LLC than S corp.
exactly.
Yep.
Yep. Because in with an LLC, if I understand correctly, and I
Yeah.
could be wrong, I'm not an accountant. I pay
I'm gonna
somebody to
have an
do my
accountant
taxes.
later on the show, so like we'll
Perfect.
we'll circle back on this episode.
There you go. But if I understand correctly, so I pay a lot of people. I
Hmm.
like I have a lot of help. And so when the money in an S corp goes into the business, it's not taxable to me personally, Clare Longendyke. The only thing that is taxable is the salary I pay to myself that funnels through the S corp. So yeah, so that's why that. And so basically, what that means is what I have started doing, and that this is just this year. What I used to do. This is old Clare, young Clare. I
Young
used to.
Claire.
Yeah, I went through a period where I started making more money, and I was like, I have worked so fucking hard for my entire life. Every cent that I make, I believe it needs to go into my joint bank account with my husband. I believe I deserve that money because I'm working for that money. And then the money that I fundraised, which has been in the last 6 years, everywhere from $5,000 one year to $25,000 one
Nice.
year. In fact, I am very proud of the fact that I like just hit a record of like total monies fundraised in the past 6 years, including for myself and for my my nonprofit that I used to run and is closed, a music festival based in Indianapolis. I've hit like 100K that I've fundraised,
That's
which is,
awesome.
I know, I was so proud of that.
Yeah.
So what I used to do is pay all of that money to myself, and then fundraised money, grant money would go towards my projects.
Okay.
And what that meant was certain years I was able to do big projects because I had a good fundraising year, and other years I was not able to. I needed to wait. So everything was time dependent and fundraising dependent. What's the word I'm looking for? Contributed income dependent. There we go. So now what I do is all the money that I earn, no matter what I'm doing, as long as it's professionally earned money, meaning like if I sell clothes on ThreadUp, that goes into my personal account.
Sure.
Everything else, everything relating to the piano goes into an account that is my business account. And then at the end of every quarter, I decide how much to set aside for taxes, how much to pay back into the business, to reinvest in the business, and how much to pay myself. And largely I'm able to, because it's just me, I'm able to use a sliding scale and be like, we don't pay very much tax because my husband takes a very high withholding, and because I have a hell of a lot of write-offs to tax deductions.
I was just going to ask about that regarding like the CD production and whatnot.
Yep.
Like, is that a tax write-off for you?
Oh, all of it.
Yeah.
It is all professional. Everything, every dime that goes into that, every dime that goes into my business is a write-off.
Even as a sole proprietor.
Even as a sole proprietor, that's exactly right.
Yep. And again, like if people could see our facial expressions, I am not saying this for me, friends. I am saying this for those of you out there who are, just wondering how all of this fucking works. That is how this works. There is no musician. I mean, I guess that's heavy-handed. Maybe there are musicians that are just like, I exist and I make music and everyone manages my shit. Fine, cool. But your average musician that is actually working is doing all of the aforementioned things from the last hour of the show, but everything is a tax write-off, even as a sole proprietor. You do not have to incorporate as an S corp or an LLC in order to have tax write-offs. Like if your main job is to perform, then anything having to do with performing is a tax write-off. So keep your receipts, in other words.
Yes, that's exactly right. Well, and interestingly, I learned that at IU.
Did you?
A session, through the Career Center.
Oh, no shit.
There was a center on taxes for musicians, and
nice.
I did learn that there. That's where I kind of got my feet wet. And the other thing I would say is always use a tax preparation system.
Yeah.
Whether it's a person or QuickBooks or something, because that's, if you get audited, that is your protection.
Absolutely. So regarding equipment, what are 3 pieces of equipment that have proven to be invaluable to you over the years? Like, I mean, obviously you own pianos, so like that's thing number 1.
I was gonna say,
but
how about my Steinway L, my Steinway B, and metronome?
Those right, obviously, duh. So, like, trumpeters are like the most gadgety motherfuckers on the planet, and I would not claim to say that there's any sort of like single gadget that has been really a game changer. I'm talking about things that have like made your life easier, balancing being a mom, being a musician, being on the road, and performing at a high level, and like maintaining your mental health. Like the fact that you're not like criminally insane at this point it blows my mind because I don't think I could do it.
I have an answer for you, but first I have to tell you that I was a straight A student in high school. I got an A- in AP US history, and I cried. I was like salutatorian in my class. Like I'm a fucking smarty pants, but also I'm like highly organized, and I care about my work. And so when I deliver something, even the shit that is half-assed for me is like above average.
I'm the same way.
Like I'm a firstborn child.
Same.
Right. So now granted, my younger brother, who is 8 years younger from the same parents, is also like this. So you can say that we're both like firstborn children. But
right.
So I like yeah, I forgot first. So the moral of the story is I forgot my first ever doctor's appointment. I had a
Oh,
GP follow up, and like, let's be honest,
yeah.
I've seen so many fucking doctors in the last uh 18 months since I got
I
a
can only imagine.
year since I got pregnant. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um it didn't really matter. It was just like a check-in. But I forgot about this appointment, and I never forget anything, Lexi.
Hmm.
And I got calls. I got an email reprimanding me. I got a letter in the mail
A
from
letter in
Ascension St.
the
Vincent
mail? Are you
telling
kidding
me
me?
that I had like a first strike against me. And I was like,
What
I don't want to
doctor
hear
keeps
about this.
strikes? That's
Well,
stupid.
she's a nurse practitioner too. I'm like, give me a fucking break. And then I was like, you know what? It's fine. If the only thing I forget this year is my goddamn doctor's appointment, then I am killing it.
Woo!
So, anyways, the three pieces of equipment. Number one is Canva. That is not a joke. It not only does it save me time, but I have a lot of flippin' fun using it.
Hmm.
And it's like, it's actually part of my career that I have maintained, like a job that I maintain. I don't offload my content creation because I find it like a creative outlet. I don't
Sure.
Music is not a creative outlet for me. Music is my life. That's
Hmm.
it. There's no like, it is creative, it is an outlet. It is not a creative outlet. I
Hmm.
care. I'm too much of a perfectionist when it comes to it.
But
Canva,
that's a really worthwhile point. When you make something that most people view as a hobby into your job, it stops being a fluffy
yeah,
little thing that you can take or leave.
right.
Like
That's
the
right.
trumpet will send me a fucking bill if I don't sit down and play her
Yeah, that's
every
right.
single day. And that
Yeah,
is so different than, oh, I just play for fun. Yay. Like that
yeah,
is not what we do. Like we are
yeah,
musicians and then we do other things for fun.
yeah. That's right.
Sorry.
Exactly.
I didn't mean to interrupt, but
No, you're
that's like
fine.
so important.
Yeah. So like Canva is my creative outlet. I love
Yeah.
it. I have so much fun putzing around on Canva. Then my air turn page turn pedal is number two. Yep.
Yep,
Yep. Because
def,
that is
same.
absolutely essential. The fact that I don't have a backup is kind of shocking. And
Ooh.
then I would say a swimming pool is number three.
Oh
And
wow.
yeah, that's kind of where that's my physical outlet. So I
Ah.
now have I gone swimming since August? No, but like ain't nobody got time for that. I've been performing.
Well, there's that, and like, how old's your son now? When did you have him?
He's 6 months.
Yeah,
Memorial Day weekend.
you've been a little busy.
Yeah, I've been a little busy. I mean, he's in daycare. I could technically go, but like like literally my definition of motherhood is loss of choice. Like
Uh huh.
there is always one answer to what you have to do in that moment.
Hmm.
Sometimes it is shower, sometimes it is sleep. Most of the time for me it is practice.
Hmm.
And like it is never work exercise your body. It is never, almost never. Maybe one time. But usually I do that when I'm before bed and I'm
Yeah,
like, okay, I'm gonna do a pigeon pose and hope for the best.
yeah. There you go.
So
There you go.
so yeah, so air turn, Canva, swimming pool.
Nice.
Yeah.
So, like regarding your mental health, because
Yeah.
so I view the gym as my psych ward.
Okay.
So like whenever I'm frustrated at the world, I go to the gym. I have that luxury though. Like I have no
Yeah.
responsibilities to myself, to anybody but me. So like there's that. But balancing all of the aforementioned things, being a mom, being a musician, being your own business owner, all of that fun stuff, like are there any best practices or any insight that you could like give our listeners about like maintaining your mental health and not losing your mind and all of that? Like not everyone is as naturally adept at organizing themselves as you are, but have you
Mm.
found anything along the way that's been like, you know what, if somebody did this, I bet you this would help?
So I'm not going to therapize here
No, that's
because
fine.
I don't, what the hell do I know? Um, but
What do any of us know?
well, right, exactly. But I would say so. The best time that you can spend in your free time is getting to know yourself.
Hmm.
Um, and what that means for me is that I am highly competitive, both with myself and with others. I am driven to the point of like lunacy. Um, I take failure really hard,
Mhm.
but I always turn that shit around and then make shit happen after I fail. That's the
Nice.
best thing I can say about myself is that like it used to be that when I would get a rejection, I would turn around and get a donation because I was
Hmm.
like, I have to make something happen today. I need to make, so I would call somebody and be like, this just happened. Would you be willing to support me in order to, overcome X?
Mhm.
And 100% of the time the person would say yes.
That's awesome.
Um, I, what else can I say about myself? I work so well under pressure.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm not the kind of person that can start a piece 3 years in advance because I need that terrified push at the very end.
I think a lot
And
of that is
actually,
relatable.
yeah, well, and it's a little scary because I don't know how to be more, well, I've gotten better at it, but I am still learning how to be more prepared in the sense of 6 months in advance. It's like, okay, now it's just upkeep. I'm
Mm-hmm.
terrible at the upkeep. Like, I'm
Mm.
really good at 2 weeks ahead. I'm like, oh my God, I did it. I'm 2 weeks early. 2 weeks is not a buffer, people. Like, get your ass ready for a concert, like a big concert, weeks and weeks and weeks in advance. I work really well in a pressure cooker.
Yeah.
And knowing those things about myself,
Mm-hmm.
I am absolutely in the right career.
Yeah.
Is there another career? Like, listen to all of my skills. I fucking am a baller at finances. I took a skill that I was terrible at, which was marketing and social media design, and I became, to my own self-taught standards, pretty dang good at it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm awesome. Really, I probably should be a fundraiser, except I hate fundraising for anything except myself, because that, like, all those things that I just talked about, that
Right.
like driven, that's how I make shit happen.
Well, it's
I'm
time
really,
consuming, and if you're going to spend the time on yourself. Like that's always been
exactly,
my thought too. And then people
exactly.
are just like, "Well, you're just an egomaniacal trumpet player." I'm like, "No.
Yeah, right.
If I'm going to put in the
No.
time, I'm going to make it work for me."
Yeah, exactly. And I really love connecting with people. I love I say that vulnerability is my superpower, and that's where the musical side of things comes on. Everything else that I mentioned is about the behind the scenes stuff. I'm also like an introverted extrovert. And so I love that time on stage, and then I love the like wee hours of the night crawling into, like, being in my robe and like reading a book or being on my phone and like processing the concert and
Mm.
thinking about it, and sometimes beating myself up for things. Less now, like, mostly I beat myself up about like administrative, well, business missteps, like,
Sure.
I probably shouldn't have said that on Lexie's podcast, stuff like that.
Well, if you
um
do get to that point, we can always edit. We've
that's
got some
very
time.
kind of you. I feel like I've been pretty tame this time around. But like, I really, so, and what I say, the reason I say that is that the better you know yourself, the better you're going to be able to say, like, okay, I'm really good at all of this stuff, but I get terrible stage fright. This career is not for me.
Mhm.
Or I hate talking about myself, but I'm really good at everything else that I do. Great, hire a publicist to do that side of thing. So like, you're able to make decisions from a point of um education and intimacy with of self,
Mhm.
as opposed to like flailing. And I
Yeah.
used to flail. And I learned a lot from flailing, but I made a lot of mistakes flailing too. And then
Mhm.
the other thing I would say too is, and this kind of ties, I'm kind of going back to your three pieces of equipment,
Yeah,
but
you're fine.
um, we as pianists are that rare bird that, like, remember, we don't get to carry our instruments with us
Mhm.
unless we're not unless we're not having these conversations, right? Those
Right.
people get to travel. That level of elite pianist gets to travel with their own instrument. But and the best thing I ever did for myself was buy myself my own piano. And I
Beautiful.
bought myself, yeah, I bought myself a good piano. I had to take out student loans to do it
I
because I
believe it.
did. But the great thing was I didn't have student loans at the time for
Mhm.
IU because
Mhm.
I was going to school for free. And that what that meant was that I was not wasting time walking around looking for a practice room. I was able to really dedicate that time to like being at the instrument.
Mhm.
And now I still have that instrument. I'm celebrating 10 years with my Steinway L. And
Yay!
like, it is the reason that I have a career. My instrument, the fact that I was able to like dedicate, that's what helped me take myself seriously, was
Mhm.
pouring $30,000 into the piece of equipment that has helped me become the pianist that I am. So
Yeah, absolutely.
yeah.
So, last question.
Yeah.
Um, and before we go, last question, I just want to say thank you so much for being so authentic and vulnerable about all of
Oh
the
my God.
aspects of being a full time musician that we've just talked about. I feel like we need to have more of these conversations publicly as much as
Yes.
humanly possible about
Yes.
gender, about race,
Absolutely.
and about the business side of what we do.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I would say you're
So,
welcome, but I don't know how to be any other way. So
uh,
there you have
well, we
it.
appreciate you so much. And I know that there are people listening. I have former students that ask me about this podcast all the time. They're like, "When can we talk about this? Can you find somebody who does this?" And you've
Yep.
answered so many of those questions today. So thank you
Yeah.
for that.
You're very
So
welcome.
finally,
My pleasure.
if you were a flavor of ice cream, what flavor of ice cream would you be and why?
Okay, so I'm a Minnesotan. Well, I'm a Chicagoan Minnesotan. I was
Okay.
born in Chicago. I grew up in the Twin Cities, and about a half mile from the house where I grew up, my parents' house where they still live, is Sebastian Joe's ice cream shop, which
Okay.
is like just the best and the best of in the Twin Cities. It's like the smallest scoop for the most expensive price, but like sometimes you got to pay for what you really need. And they have a flavor of ice cream that's called Pavarotti.
Oh.
So while he is a womanizing whore,
Yeah.
we'll ignore that. But so it's got a musical reference for a name, which I kind of love.
Mhm.
But it's basically coffee banana with chocolate chips in it.
Shut
And the
up.
reason that it is I am that flavor is that it's like there's a complexity to it, but it's
Uh-huh.
just smooth. So like there's like a depth of everything in terms of texture, in terms of flavor. You know, you got the crunch of the chocolate chips, you got the smoothness of the banana, you got the acidity of the coffee, but at the same time it just goes down easy. And I feel like that's me in a nutshell. Like you can take me just superficially and be like, yeah, I love her, or yeah, I hate her. But like when you get to know me, there's this deep complexity that I really pride myself on. That I've worked hard. I've worked hard to be deeply complex without being a lunatic. So
Yay! Oh my gosh, I love that, and
thank you.
that's brilliant. I will definitely link to Sebastian Joe's
Yes,
in the links for the show,
do it. Will you
so that
mind asking them if they'll be a sponsor of mine when you?
I mean, if they happen to listen and reach out, I absolutely will. Yeah, totally. Yeah, you should get your publicist on that. I feel like that's a
I
no
know.
brainer.
Yeah, you're exactly right.
Like,
Yeah.
duh.
Why am I not thinking in that direction?
Right? And then you could put like a cool Sebastian Joe's decal, like on the
Exactly.
side of the piano, just
It-
be like, eat
mm,
at Joe's.
yes, there you go. I like that. I like that. That's good. I like that a lot.
Oh my gosh. Well, again, thank you so much. That was an absolute joy to be able to sit with you, and we appreciate you so much.
It's good to see you, Lexie. It's
Yeah, you
awesome.
too. All right, peace.
Take care.
You betcha. Bye. And there you have it. Another fabulous conversation with one of the hardest working musicians in all of Indianapolis and probably the Midwest. Hopefully, you were able to take something away that was useful. That is why we are here. Also, if you haven't checked us out on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, all the places where you find social media, please jump on and give us a little love in those spaces. And if you're like me and completely addicted to your caffeine, jump on over to Hideaway Coffee of Fort Wayne, Indiana. That's HYDE Away Coffee of Fort Wayne, Indiana. And when you pick out your favorite roast, or now they have a subscription, they are killing it. Enter Rogue 10 in the checkout for 10% off your favorite roast, and hopefully that'll get you through the holidays. We're going to skip next week because it's Christmas, so get out there, enjoy Gigmas, and we appreciate your support of our podcast. Thanks so much, and happy holidays, everybody.